Hello, beautiful souls. You are listening to Starfire, Elemental Alchemy and Zodiac Power Podcast.
where we are dedicated to transforming lives through the fusion of elemental alchemy and zodiac wisdom. Our mission is to empower individuals to harness their inner strength and cosmic alignment, creating profound shifts in energy and unlocking the true power of their astrological and elemental essence. My name is Cami, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Tracy, your other host. Let's get to it. Hello, Cami.
Hello, Tracy. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are going to be a little bit more silly, I think, today, because this is the first time that Tracy and I are actually sitting together as we are doing this podcast in the same room, and we don't have the filter of the computer between us. So there might be some giggly, there might be some things that we might have to have edited out, but we're not going to be worried about that. We're going to just go with the flow and allow Cancer to show up exactly the way that it's supposed to for us today.
I love it. I love it. We're re-recording, and so it just happened this way. And yeah, it's been a lot of giggles. So now we're getting serious, and now we're gonna do it.
We're going to get serious because Cancer
Yes.
is just so serious.
So serious. Actually, yes, I think so. I think cancers are pretty serious.
They can be.
It can be. So, any cancers in your life, Cami?
You know, I do have some cancers in my life. I have one of my sisters is a Cancer. I do have a few, but the thing that I have found with cancers is that they don't. I don't know. This is just going to be my take on it. Is a lot of them are very sheltered and don't really show up as their sun sign. And what I'm finding as I'm diving deeper in all of this is that they're way more reserved. And so maybe somebody that I wouldn't necessarily know as being a Cancer. Like my sister is not she's homey, but she's more like crafty and things like that. She's not the nurturing kind, but yet so I think maybe one of her other signs might overpower. So it's kind of an interesting take for me. What about you?
I do not have a lot of cancer interaction, but I have met one gal before. She came to visit as like the girlfriend of a good friend, and then they broke up. So it was just a one-time thing. But she was a Cancer, and I feel like she was the quintessential Cancer because she was a writer. She was into some like holistic, energetic offering that she did. I don't really know what it was. I can't remember the buzzword, but she was like putting her fingers on different spots on my head. It wasn't cranial sacral or anything,
Was
but
it Reiki?
it wasn't Reiki. I want to say like notes or something and not. I don't know. Actually, don't quote me. But anyhow, that just seemed very Cancer. We got along like a house on fire, and our friend was like, "You're gonna love her. Like, just wait. You guys are really gonna hit it off." And of course, we did. But I will remember her saying that she had written a book and shared it with another gal, like another girlfriend of people like in the same group, and that person never read it, and it really hurt her feelings. And so that was my only run-in, but I always reference that little run-in because I felt like she was a very Cancer representative, and then also it made sense that she would react, and then she like didn't even want to share her book with me.
So interesting. I that is a very interesting thing that you just said because my sister is very much like that. Like it kind of is gets a little bit butthurt if you don't do something that she feels really empowered or really excited about. And I mean, obviously, that's somebody's feelings, and cancers can be they're super tender on the inside.
Yes.
Just when we start talking about the crab, right? You think of this hard shell on the outside that is there for protection, that is a shield between, but then they're so soft and tender and juicy on the inside that sometimes they don't want to expose that underbelly.
Right.
One thing I will tell you is that just with me doing astrology, I found that all of everything in my entire chart is pointing towards Cancer.
What do you mean now everything? I think you're North Node, right?
But everything, if you actually look at my chart, it is pointing directly to Cancer, Saturn in Cancer in the 12th house. And it is, I have a yod. And so what that means is that all of like my major points towards my my life's purpose on this planet is to understand Cancer and to live as a Cancer, or at least that is my interpretation of it. So it was really interesting to find that because anybody that's been listening knows that we are both Pisces, but yet with a water sign and with this initiator, right? With Cancer being the initiate of summer, and the next thing with the cardinal signs, they are the ones that are supposed to be put on this planet to help heal collective wounding in the family dynamics, in the mother wound, etc. And I definitely have gone through all of those types of initiations up until now. So I'm going to just show Tracy really quick while we're here my chart so that she can see what I'm talking about. And anybody that is ever interested in knowing.
That's kind of what I had in mind, was that, somehow as you connect the dots in the way that you do, there would be like this. It's really pretty and like symmetrical, eh?
Thank you. I have lots of triangles. I have lots of triangles, meaning that I've got lots of grand trines in my chart, and I'm a triple grand trine in water, and then also this yod, which is these little dots right here, and that is intensifying the direction towards here. And Saturn is the grand teacher, and
it does show you.
So again, having that in Cancer is my entire life's purpose is actually to master Cancer.
Wow, I love that. That is so interesting, and I just want to point out that this is what's so fun about having someone look at your birth chart, is that there is so many facets to what the information is providing. There's so many layers. So if you're listening and you are interested, we do read from a book called The Inner Sky, and it is a really great basis for learning the signs, learning the planets and the elements, and then what it means, what Cami was just saying, like I have a yod here and I have a grand trine and all this, because once you put all the pieces together, that tells a story. But then when you look at how they are in relation to each other, you have a whole nother layer of what you're doing and what you're here to do and understand. So what I thought I would do is read from The Inner Sky and read a little bit about Cancer. He does list, real quickly at the top, for every sign, it says the element is water, the mode is cardinal, the archetypes are the mother, the healer, and the invisible man or woman. The symbol is the 69, even though it's not the 69. And I giggle every time I write the symbol for Cancer, because that's who I am.
Same. And it's fine. It's fine.
And it's fine. Okay, so he always gives these little quotes first. It says, "Those for whom not to be seen is non-existence are not alive. And the kind of existence they seek, the immortality they seek, is spectral. To be seen is the ambition of ghosts, and to be remembered the ambition of the dead." So I think it's living for other people is the death of you. Only being able to see yourself through others' eyes, I think, is what they're saying. And for the Cancer, it's about, even though it's the mother and the healer, it's also very much about the Cancer's journey as well, and sharing that journey and showing that vulnerability and being seen, having to be seen.
having to be seen. I think that that's the part, is that they want to stay in the safety and in the comforts of their own home, in their own shelter. And yeah, to be out there and be outward expressing is not a normal thing for a Cancer, which is why I think I have a hard time identifying a lot of Cancers as a sun sign, because they're so much more internalized.
Well, they're moon sign, aren't they?
They are. The moon
but
is ruled.
But they're in the sun season.
Yeah.
And bringing in the summer solstice.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of sun energy in Cancer.
Yeah.
And that is,
Yeah, but the moon is their ruling planet. So then again, that internalized. So they probably have that like constant inner conflict of being outward expressing, but then inward. But they have to, like, to do this for a collective way of being, you have to be seen on the outside.
Absolutely. And what's great about this book is he really breaks it all into what he calls the symbol. So he'll talk about the crab, which is the symbol. He'll talk about the end point, which is like, what's the point? What's the work that the Cancer is doing? It's strategy. So what are the tools it's going to use? Resources, and then shadow. So it really breaks it down. I'm only going to read you guys the symbol for it, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the end point. But the symbol is the crab, and he writes, a vulnerable creature, a succulent piece of meat, the food of gulls. How can he survive? What hope is there for him? He is only a morsel awaiting the predator's mouth. To live, the crab must grow a shell. He must grow a wall between himself and nature. He is too delicate to protect himself in any other way. With this armor, the crab endures. He is at peace with his environment, but that success holds the seeds of a perilous transformation. The crab eats, he matures, and soon he outgrows his shell. It must be shed. If he is cunning and lucky, he may live to grow another one that is larger, more suited to his expanded state, but only if he is cunning and lucky. Now, the end point, I'll just read the last point, is to feel consciousness, to feel every nuance of life, to shed the shell of numbness that armors us against this slaughterhouse of a world. All that is the crab's work. Like you were saying, like they retreat inside. So it is like I don't think it's a back and forth like the Gemini, where it's a back and forth of themselves. It's a back and forth of, do I dip my toe in reality and out here with everyone? Do I retreat back in my safety? Do I dip a toe? Do I retreat? And I think they always are guided. They always know that they must move out. They must do it. So the Cancer's endpoint, to see the hellish discord of life, to see the cauldron within, love that, and against all odds, against all common sense, to love, trust, and accept all that existence offers. Now, I will point out, because we have been having our celestial circles now for a few months, and so I've been diving deeper and deeper, and what I came up with was that the gift of water, kind of the theme of the water signs, is death. And how the Cancer is dealing with it is helping others face their own mortality. And when I say mortality, it's about facing trauma. It's about facing your past, which is very tied to family and where you come from and your home. And it's very tied to like that bleeding heart. That's why I always call Cancers my bleeding heart musicians, my poets, my writers, because what they're doing is trying to bottle up their feelings to then show to others and say, look what I went through and learned, and you can learn it now too. And they feel that they're living their purpose.
Absolutely. That's just the bubbling over of transforming your own trauma into healing for others. There's the wounded healer. Like there's the Chiron too, with that shows up. One of the things that I have with Cancers is the over nurturing sometimes can happen, or the codependency patterns can show up for Cancers. Right. And because we want so much to do for others, and we want to show everyone all of the parts of ourselves, and we're just like here, but then it's not in a way of where there's any actual transformation that can happen from the other person on the other side of it.
And you know what makes me think of is how especially in tarot, we always say there's no good or bad cards and there's no good or bad energy out there. It's all just energy. And so when you're looking at being a mother, that's just one energy. There can be too much mothering, and we have the dependency, we have martyrship, we have smothering, but then we have too little mothering, we have avoidance, so it's so good to kind of refresh that when we talk about all these energies and the things that these archetypes bring, and then we talk about how it's portrayed, there's a spectrum, right? And sometimes people are too much and sometimes they are too little, and that's a basis for all energetics and healing of how the body works on a physical, mental, and spiritual level.
Yeah. And as you just were talking about that, I just remembered that I used to have an employee that used to work with us that she was a Cancer, and she wouldn't bring things forward because she didn't ever want to be hurt. And so she would just absorb anything that made her upset, anything that made her, but then she'd get kind of spiteful, but it was very internalized. And so I'm curious if other people that are Cancers out there, like when we get to be in our circle and maybe we have someone that's a Cancer, that we get to like live vicariously, interrogate, because that's kind of what we did in Gemini. Side note, that was a really beautiful thing for the person that was a Gemini. We'll have to talk about that offline, but I do think that the interrogation of like really embodying Cancer and the energetics of Cancer, but through the lens of someone that is living that on a regular basis. What are their inner turmoils? What are their things, their strengths, their weaknesses that they feel that they have, and how can we help support with all of these other energies and entities that we have around us? So I'm so fascinated by it.
And the tarot just supports all of this and is helpful in understanding exactly what we're talking, because when you're saying, not bringing things forward, staying hidden, staying in the shell, all of these things about the Cancer, that's the association with the High Priestess. She's all about what is hidden.
That's right.
And so it makes there's so many parallels.
Do we want to go into tarot, or do we want to at least say we've already said that this is a water sign. We already said that this is a cardinal water sign. Do you want to refresh about what cardinal might mean for you? Yeah. Like you can go ahead and say about cardinal.
I say we leave the tarot for a little bit, because that's a whole nother animal. What you want? Well, so cardinal water, all cardinal signs kick off summer. And my little trick is that saying, how do I have purpose with my element? So how do I have purpose with my feelings and intuitions? And that's taking your purpose. It's in the world. So it's having purpose with other people, affecting other people. And the effect that the Cancer wants to have is helping people deal with their trauma, face their mortality, face the dark side.
They're not in the shadowy realms just yet, like the Scorpio will get, because that's the other one that we have.
The mortality of your humanness.
Yeah.
That's where we're starting.
That's where
the
we're starting.
mortality of your humanness.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with there.
Yeah. And then we are in the 4th house, and this is all about home. And so it is ruled by the moon. We'll talk about that also a little bit deeper, but this is about roots, culture, ancestry, your upbringing, emotional security, nurturing domestic life, personal foundation. So this is, how do you respond to your roots, to your ancestry, to the people that have come before you? Are you, a historian that might want to dive really deep into those spaces and places? That might be a really good job for someone that's a Cancer, or if you're leaning into that Cancer energetic. And but nurturing is what I always feel with and from the home card. Like, it's just how do you keep your home? Like, what is it that you are really wanting to imbibe in your home? What is the safety and security that you feel here? What is the energetics when you walk into someone's home? Is it disarray? Is it chaos? Is it all of those things? Or is it going to be really rooted and grounded and a place where you can have a nice meal? I was just talking to a friend the other day and said, I will always make you a meal. Like, I will always make you a meal. Don't ever question that. If you ever are needing a place to come to, my home is always open for a warm meal. And I just realized, as I'm like deepening into my Cancer side of things, I have so much of this just innately, naturally, that I had never had any identifying factor of my Cancer in my chart. So I didn't know that this is normal. Like, this is my normal life of mothering, even though I don't have children. I have 2 dogs, but I mother my friends. I mother my even people that aren't my friends. I mother at my job, and I have overdone it in a lot of ways, in so many times and spaces and places that I have overcompensated or felt like my value wasn't enough if I didn't provide something for someone. If I didn't provide that really nice meal, then I don't bring value to the space. So that was really interesting, just with your 4th house. Moon is our overarching planet, and that is the mother, the emotional body, intuitive, vulnerable, subconscious, nurturer, and what we need to feel safe. It's feminine, energetic. And then Cancer, the mantra, or the mantra.
I think so.
I think that's what it's called. I don't know. Is I feel. They are the healers, the nurturers. Yeah, they can be really clingy. This is the other side of it. Clingy, sensitive, pessimistic, emotional, homebody. They might not want to go outside of their home, like what we just talked about. But they can be incredibly loyal, which again can be a good, again, we don't say good or bad, but it can be to a detriment. I know for myself, my over-mothering has been, in places and spaces in my life, have been a detriment to myself and to others, because then I feel like I'm over nurturing when they can actually do their own stuff by themselves, like wash your own dishes. I don't have to be the one. A girl that I went to a retreat with one time, I was so upset because there was all this food out and everything needed to be cleaned up, and I was like, I have to do all this. And she's like, why do you think that you're the only one that has to do this? And I was like, I don't know, because I do. And she was like, that's not true. There are 6 other women in this house. You don't have to be the only one. But that has been my like belief of having to take care of everything and breaking those old habits.
So I didn't say this yet, but my North Node is in Cancer.
Oh, yeah.
And that represents in your chart like what you're moving towards. So, and it's so funny because I just recently figured this out, and my dream is to have a place, have a brick and mortar, a kind of a shop, but more of a space where it's an offering space. But I want it to be, I keep saying, I just want people to come. It needs to be like a house. Not a space. Like, it needs to be an actual house so people can come and they can feel at home. And if their home's not suitable, they can come to this home when they need it. And it's for ritual, it's for ceremony, it's for connection, and it's just a very sacred space. And so then to read about Cancer, I mean, that's what we just said. Like, obviously the 4th house, like, it's about home and family and safety. And the Cancer wanting to heal people, wanting to mother people. So I am right there in the Cancer. I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. And I think I probably just clouded it over with I'm a Pisces before, because Pisces are tied to the moon. Pisces are tied to water. Like, it's similar.
I think that's been part of my problem too, of not identifying. And then yet here we both are, of saying our entire life's purpose is to bring people home to themselves.
I know.
Literally. That's what both of us are like, what are we doing in life? That's what we're doing, is we're helping people and guiding people back to their home.
Yes.
Which is your own body,
Yes.
which is your safety, which is your
Absolutely.
space that you can control. A house that might have, walls and ceiling over it, you can't control that, but you can control this.
Absolutely.
So-
So, and I was going to go over because as we look at the signs, we're looking at a story. So first we start with Aries and it's I am. So it's creation. You're on the scene.
Yep.
You have appeared. First there was nothing and now you are. I am. Next we move to Taurus, who says, okay, well, what do you have? You just appeared. How do we define who you are? And well, what do you have? And so Taurus is like, well, shit, what do I have? Let's see what I value. Okay, this is what I value. Moving into Gemini now that Taurus has established this is what I value and find important in my life. Then Gemini comes on and goes, yeah, but how's that going to work in the real world? How's that going to work, buddy? Because guess what? You're not alone. You're not alone in this, and there's other people, and you're going to go back and forth between just how to act in this world. The twins.
Yep.
And so then Gemini finally figures it out, and Gemini has this burst of sun explosion knowledge, right? The perfect time for summer solstice. And Gemini goes, okay, it's just going to be all heart. And now Gemini, he knows he knows who he is. He knows what he has. He knows what is Gemini? I speak. He knows what he has to say. He knows what he's showing up, what his message is to the world.
Yes.
I think there's multiple.
There are multiples.
Yeah.
I have found that too, that there's like usually one or two, maybe even a little bit more of each one of them. But I think, or because of Mercury being so much a part of the ruler. So it's I think or I speak.
Okay.
I think it's either one of those that you can kind of interchangeable with those.
Okay. But both representing that it's your taking establishment of how you're going to act in the world and who you're going to be. Yeah. Then you move into, well, then now that I know all of this, where am I going to settle down? And what am I going to nurture? And what am I going to help grow? And what am I going to protect?
Yeah.
What am I going to keep safe? And so it's just one more step. And the Cancer is the feeliest, which was surprising because obviously it's I feel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought that was us. I thought we were the feeliest. But I think the power that we have is the ability to disengage. And so we can pull into the behind the veil a little bit and get out of our feelings. And we can make sense of it a little bit because we can chalk it up to the intuition or the fairy or the witch or whoever told us in our dreams. Whereas the Cancer can't.
Absolutely. That was what I was just going to say is like in each of these water signs that we're going through, and being that we are water signs, that we are the feeliest of all of the different signs that are out there. That's just our nature, right?
Yeah, we're the feeling element.
We are the feeling element. But the Cancer absolutely is the more feely, and us Pisces, I do think that we have a broader spectrum. Like I feel like we can like overarching or like be the observer of all of the feelings, and then be able to distill the feelings and know is that your mind, body, soul situation. Like that I think is part of the magic of the Pisces. But yeah, Cancer is definitely feeliest of feelies.
Feeliest of feelies.
I think that's everything.
I think that's good.
And then, so let's go into tarot. And I also, for those of you that have actually been listening along, Tracy has been doing tarot for quite some time. But I will say, after being in the room and doing Gemini and walking through the story of Gemini through the lens of tarot, has increased my knowledge of not just tarot, but we've talked about these. All of this is interwoven and intertwined. And so we can make sense of ourselves through these different lenses. And so we're making sense of ourselves through the lens of tarot. We're making sense of ourselves through the lens of astrology. We're making sense of ourselves through the lens of the houses and the zodiac, and the elements, and the modes and all of these different parts of us. But it's giving us so much more detail and fine tuning that is such a resource, and that we can constantly come back to. And so I feel like it's really, really, really important, the depth that we go into with the tarot that we may not have gone into in the first couple, maybe the 1, 2, 3s that we did right before this, of our recordings. So I'm excited about the depth that we're going to potentially be able to bring into this, because I think that is extremely valuable.
I think what I'm learning is just how tarot fits in with astrology as we've been doing this, because what I see now is, we have all these planetary and celestial energies that are influencing us, and everybody comes in at a different time and has this different, cocktail of these energies, and we're all interacting with each other, and it's confusing. And I feel like tarot came in to be like, let me give you an example. Let me give you a metaphor. Let me tell you a story. Just like Greek mythology, just like all religions, it's storytelling, and it's the best way that we learn. And hieroglyphs on caves were storytelling. So that's what tarot is. It's just telling the overall basic story that happens to all souls when they incarnate on Earth. And because there's they're of course they're connected to the planets and the moons and everything, because that's what they're trying to say. So like when Mars comes into Aries, there's going to be some fiery spirit going on. Well, what's that going to be like? Tarot's like, well, let me show you this card. It's kind of like this 2 of Wands. Look at this guy. See, he's holding these wands. It's kind of like this. It's just an example. And so it's hard to see everything in other people because we all are playing different games. But in the tarot, that's why the tarot never lies, because it goes, this is where they're at in the story. But our stories just look so different that it's hard to understand our own story at times. And that's why the tarot is so great, because it shows, this is the energy at play. And what I find is that whenever we're struggling in life, it's always about a choice. And that's when people come to get their cards read. People know what they want. They're just not ready to walk away from the one that they're not going to choose. I wouldn't say the one they don't want, the one they're not going to choose. They're not ready. And that's why they're wallowing in their choice. And so to come and see a card pull up and go, these are your fears, these are your hopes, you go, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not alone. And then you're empowered to lean into your feels.
Yeah.
Which is why Cancer is my North Node and tarot is what I do.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense.
Makes so much sense. It's so wild. It's so wild how much we're learning about ourselves as we're diving into this.
It's so
really
fun.
Cool.
And I knew we would. I knew we would. And I love, because it's, I think with the, I think I have a lot of Mercury in my chart, which is what I have to look at, because every time I learn something, I want to put it out to people and share it. And I've thought about doing tarot lessons, and I've thought about doing, these little workshops and this and that. But to be honest, it's the embodiment. It is living it. It is walking day after day, looking at the cards, reflecting on your life, and really experiencing it. That is what teaches you about these things. And your life is constantly evolving, so you can constantly come back to the same cards, the same signs, the same time of year, and have a whole new experience.
Absolutely. Different lens. Yeah.
Okay, so the way it works, all the signs have one card that I like to call their business card. It's like, this is the work I do. And for Cancer, it's the Chariot. He actually has, not here on the Rider-Waite-Smith, but in the Thoth deck, he's got a crab on his crown. So that's a direct, proof. And then some of the other elements, he's in a carriage being like ready to go off. He's ready to set out. And there's a lot of symbols of balance, equality, and the symbols are trying to tell a story that this man is very supported. He's very comfortable. He's got great parents. He's been raised. And not we're just kind of giving it energy. It's not that everybody who's associated with Cancer would be this way, right? This is just an archetype of the Chariot saying, here's a man who is comfortable, but he's got to go because he knows he's never going to get anywhere else in his life. He's never going to grow. He's never going to learn if he doesn't set off and leave this comfort of home. And that's exactly what the crab's doing with the shell, leaving the shell. He knows he can't get bigger if he stays in this small shell. And so the chariot's just that great reflection that you're ready to go. It is time. So if anybody asked in a reading, like, should I go on this, or am I ready to do this? And the chariot came up, I'd be like, you are so prepared. You're ready.
Just
and
go.
then we would look at where the fears were. But I would be like, oh man, please embark on that journey.
Yeah.
And then we have in the minor or the major arcana, along with the chariot, we have a card that's associated with the sign because of the water element, and we have a card that's associated because of the moon. So at whatever their ruling planet and whatever their element is, we look at those cards. The Hanged Man is the water sign. It's definitely, it's a hanged man. It's changing your perspective, basically. And so that's what water and transformation and the alchemizing of the moon energy and all of that and the healing, that's what it is. It's changing your perspective to be more of an enlightened point of view. And then also we have the moon in the high priestess, and she deals a lot with what is behind the veil, what you don't know, immense trust, and just a really beautiful energy of a card. When I was taught, the gal kind of said the high priestess was like, oh, when that shows up in a reading, it's like, sorry, you don't get to know, that's kind of how it showed up for her. And I would read it that way a lot. And that's the beauty of tarot. It's your language. So it's not, there's no right or wrong. But what I'm starting to realize is that it's just so much more than that. And it's really about the seen and unseen, which is what we were reading about in the inner sky, allowing people to know your secrets. So that's the moon and the hanged man, and those are great. Now, we got a few extra for Cancer simply because we have a moon card, just like anybody that's associated with the sun is going to have the sun card as well. Mm-hmm. And we also have the Empress here just because Venus and the moon are both just so similar, and it's so feminine. And with the archetypes being the mother and all of that, it's got a little bit of a nod. But this is the real work of the tarot. So I kind of feel like the 3 cards from the minor arcana kind of tell us what we're going to be initiated through. And I think people can sometimes experience 1 or 2 or all 3 of them. But it's the 2, 3, and 4 of cups. All cardinal signs are the 2, 3, and 4 of the minor arcana cards within that suit. So we've got cups. So 2 is Venus in Cancer. Again, that's why we have that Empress card. So it's a good feel, and we have 2 people like coming together, and it's harmonious. Now, remember, it's kind of funny, we get confused with the 2 of cups and the lovers because they both have 2 people, a man and a woman, kind of looking at each other. The lovers from the major arcana are the overarching battle of masculine and feminine in all things. This 2 of cups is really feeling into a connection with another person. Mm-hmm. So if you were going to do like a love reading, like you would actually really want the 2 of cups more than the lovers card. The 2 of cups is really saying someone's coming for you. It's love. They call it love, actually, which is funny. I didn't know that until I checked my notes.
Oh, yeah.
And then the 3 of cups, we now have Mercury. And Mercury is about the communication, the in and out, the learning, the receiving, and we call that abundance when it's in Cancer. So it's like Cancer would love being with Mercury because the Cancer wants to give, and they want to communicate, and they want to express. They're scared, right, which is why they're not ruled by Mercury, but it feels good at times. And so we have 3 of cups, 3 ladies dancing around, saluting their cups up. It's very much like a harvest. There's a little pumpkin in the corner. But it's also, about good workings, good decision making. And I want to read something out of this other book because something really hit me about it. I am really tied to this 3 of Cups card. It came up in a reading for me a while ago. Emotional exchange and emotional intelligence. I like that. Fulfillment, joy, pleasant business dealings, and being filled with deep gratitude. I kind of was always taking this card to be more about like the celebration of the feast of like, look what we got, but it's really more about that inner abundance of filling your cup being filled. But I think you can do both, depending on what you're looking at. It definitely could be, enjoying good business dealings or something that came your way. But at the whole, it's not necessarily about abundance. It's not the pentacles.
Yeah.
It's not the coins.
Yeah.
It's emotional abundance.
That's really, well, I think having emotional intelligence, I think, is a really, really important part of that, of being able to really hone in on that.
I think that's what it's, emotional intelligence. Yeah.
And just and feeling full with the relationships and with the interactions, business or friend or whatever. It's like, it really does feel like that full cup feeling is what energetically that's what I get with the Three of Cups.
Yes.
So I didn't realize all of that it was with abundance either. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like the Three of Cups. They're good cards. And then the
cups are the best. I'm so sorry.
I know. It is. It's a fun road. So then we come to the Four of Cups, and now the moon comes. And you would think that it's a really tricky one, because remember, and keep that High Priestess in your mind, okay? And the moon card in your mind. Because when we walk through this, right off the bat, we're like, moon in Cancer. Cancer's ruled by the moon. Who doesn't love when their ruler and their best friend comes to town? Of course. So that feels good. But then, and it's called luxury. And we see a man sitting under a tree, relaxing. He's got 3 cups upright. And then poof, one just appears out of the air. But he could not be more interested. So there's a dark side of this. And that's it's so moon. It's so moony, right? Because there's a dark side. So like I said, remember that High Priestess, and remember that moon, which the moon card has the towers on it, remembering you've been hurt before, tread lightly. And so even though it seems good at first, it is good. There's a lot of good going on. And that's the tricky part about it, is that you still are not emotionally fulfilled anymore. We've progressed from the 3 now, and things are not necessarily filling you up, and yet you're not going to honor that because of all the good.
Yeah. Isn't that the one that I have a note here that says the rich kid card?
I call it my rich kid card because it's so common. Obviously not every rich kid, but when you are born into a rich family, it's a typical stereotype that the kids do not get a lot of emotional attention, yet they get everything else that they want. And society, their own consciousness, possibly their parents will tell them there's no need to whine, there's no need to complain or be down or be depressed, because how could you want for anything more? And even they internalize it, and they don't think they should be able to feel it, and they feel guilty. And there's many other things that come along with being born into a super rich family. But that is the part, that's that moon, that dark side, saying, what do you actually feel in your soul that you are worth? And what at the end of the day are you looking for? Because we've given you all of this stuff in the 3D. Guess what? It's never going to be enough. And it's that think about facing your own mortality, is facing just how dead all of this stuff actually is to you.
Whew.
And,
so true.
and in turn, allowing yourself to make a small death, because you're not honoring your true feelings, and you're not living in a world simply because you're grateful, right? It's that grateful spilleth over. Now we're into our gratefulness. Everything's so good, we shouldn't complain. Now we're depressed because we're not feeling our feelings. So that's the closure of
that
Cancer.
Can see that cycle happen with them. Wow.
Have you felt any of this so far in your because we're in Cancer, which was so cool. We were kind of excited to record this right now and re-record it because we're actually in Cancer. So have you felt any 2, 3, or 4?
Yeah, I mean, I feel I'm still in this space right now. It feels like, I don't know if we're there yet in the actual timeline of.
I think it can be. I think it's, in a perfect world, maybe the first third is the 2 of Cups, the second third, and then the third.
I mean, I'd be really curious to actually see if that's how it plays out.
It might. I mean, but this is something that I have just kind of been figuring out. So I'm like, we need to just move deeper and go,
Yeah.
is there an established time? Because I think it can I think it's up to the person and
Interpretation.
how quickly they move through. And I don't think everybody would necessarily have all three either. So you could have, I think, a Cancer month that's all working through your Three of Cups.
Yeah, could be. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Gemini though was all of them.
It was, wasn't
And
it?
so
I
I'm
know.
very curious is now that we're actually diving deeper into this, I'm kind of feeling like this is going to be what we're going to have show up every single month now that we have the awareness, right? Now that we have this online,
Absolutely.
we're like, oh, okay, this is what's going to actually happen. But like, yeah, I mean, we have new relationships in my life that are feeling really good and really purposeful, and deepening relationships. I mean, with you and I, we've deepened our relationship, and have so much more gratitude for the relationship that we've nurtured and continued to do. I don't think I've never in my existence on this planet have ever felt like I've had like a lack of abundance, or that I've had too much that I'm not grateful. So I think I probably tend to stay in these two in my own personal experience, because I've just never had, I've always just felt like the world was going to give me everything that I ever needed and then some. That's how the universe works for me, and I've never been in lack and or feeling ungrateful for having too much. Like, I don't know.
Well,
like,
that's one way of looking at it, but I would say the main focus is that it's not feeling worthy of it, feeling the feelings you have, right?
So
but and that might be, it doesn't necessarily have to be with the physical wealth or physical things around, right? It could be guilty because your brother had cerebral palsy and you didn't.
Okay, so I mean, very fair.
Maybe you had that at times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The attention got put onto him.
Right.
Because,
Does that mean that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That nobody should have ever helped
Yeah.
you or took you out and
Yeah.
said, I'm going to make it Cami Day because I
Yeah.
bet your brother gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be something you needed?
Yeah.
But you
Okay.
don't feel worthy of asking for it because
Okay, that right there is your
we found the Four of Cups.
Yeah, not feeling worthy of asking for it.
Yeah.
I am in the season of my life. I've talked about this, I think, openly. Is that I'm in the receiving stage of my life, and leaning back and being in my more feminine, and allowing myself to actually receive in different ways than I ever have, and not be so much in my masculine and forceful direction type of way, but still being able to ask for it, and want people to tend and care for me the way that I tend and care for them. So I think you are in that Four of Cups right there, in that for me, that I'm leaning back and trusting that someone's going to be there. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I have dabbled in all of them. How about for you?
Well, I definitely am feeling the 2 and 3 so far this year. I mean, our relationship, I went and hung out with Katie more and went to the breathwork thing, and had an amazing day with my friend Sarah. Not a new relationship, but I would say that it was just, we had a fabulous day.
But a re-engagement
exactly.
A deepening of that relationship, right?
A deepening of that relationship. And then also very grateful, just feeling excited, like loving being with my kids, just, feeling a good flow, been working out and like doing things that I just feel really grateful for what I've done and the work I'm putting in, right? That's results. It's like threes are like, it works, it's working, it's going. So we're starting to make choices that make us happy. So I've been experiencing that. Now, what I think about with this Four of Cups, I've been there before, and I remember telling Cami and our friend Jessica, because I literally was like, I'm so Four of Cups right now, and I did this whole reading, or no, I went over to the tarot and I was like, I don't remember what I did. Anyways, whatever was happening, I just felt so called to the Four of Cups and just like cut the deck, and it was like the Four
Four
of
of
Cups or
Cups.
something.
You're like,
Like,
oh my God.
it was just so like bam right there. I'm like, yep, that's me. And I think this was prior to a lot of things that have gone down with my family, and I think it was I was not honoring the ways in which I was unhappy and not showing up, I think, for myself and the way I was interacting with people. And I wasn't being honest with myself about that. So as things would creep up and I felt it hard to move through the day because I would have this rabble rousing of energy that was like knock, 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 like, hey, we should deal with this. And I didn't even really see it clearly. So I didn't even really know what I was avoiding, but I was, and that card came up to just be like, there's work here to do. And all I really had to do was just open up to what are you feeling, and then it came, the messages came.
The other part is opening up and not lying to yourself. Like, I think that card, what I am gathering from it is like, this is a real, what is your truth that has nothing to do with anybody else outside of you? And what are you avoiding because of fear, because of whatever, of not feeling like you're going to be worth it, not if somebody's not going to choose you, whatever it is. You're stuck in a place because you're lying to yourself. You are not looking at yourself in the mirror and actually telling yourself the truth. So this is going to be that crossroads for you where you can make a choice of continuing to push that down, not avoid it, not deal with whatever is bubbling up to the surface, or you can dive deeper. Well, and what is the thing that you're hiding? What is the thing that you're not telling yourself the truth about? What are the things that you're holding back? I know for you, some of the things, because we personally are friends outside of on here, but those, what you just said about my brother, when I was a little kid, I would have absolutely loved to have had someone pay attention to me in the same amount of attention, but I just assumed that wasn't my role on this planet. So I just was able to just take a back seat and always take a back seat. And I've done that my entire life with every relationship. I will not put my needs, wants, and desires forward because they didn't matter when I was such a little kid, that they still in my brain don't think that they matter, but that's a lie. And so now being able to say, no, what do you want? What do you want? Not what your husband wants, not what your boss wants, not what your siblings or parents want. What do you want? And being able to actually look at that and then take the action step towards that instead of retreating again behind that.
Right. And it makes me think about, it's like, how do you keep your home? Well, if your body and yourself and your consciousness is your home, your final home, then how do you keep your home organized and tidy? You have to understand what your priorities are. Yeah. You have to understand where you're going to give attention. And everything outside of ourselves is just a reflection of that inner home. So then that's where we come into ritual, which is what's so important to me. How do I move through the day? What choices do I make? How do I keep my home? What food's in the fridge? What's available? Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Do I have everything anybody needs in this home? Because it's a reflection of what I'm trying to keep in myself, which is why when people have really messy homes, they feel that, because it's a direct reflection and relation. So it's a very deep card that can be a little surface level, but then at the same time, it can be about deep rooted pain that you're not even ready to handle and face because you're not even giving yourself the permission to do it.
Yeah. I think that's really important. It's the permission, that we absolutely have permission. We have free will. We have the ability to dive deeper, and whether we want to or not. But in all of this, we just showed that we're freaking supported by all kinds of elements. By the element of water, we're supported by the moon, by Venus, we're supported by the tarot. Like, we're supported in all of these other allies, that when you're in this place of feeling like, God, okay, I'm not able to face myself in the mirror right now, and I'm really struggling, that you have those that you can resource into and go, okay, what do I need to see more? Show me more. Show me what I need to see so that I can then work through this, so that it doesn't continue to infiltrate my home.
Right.
Because you have to have a clean home to live in. I know for myself, if I have messy in my room, I can't sleep. It has to be organized. It has to feel comfort. And that is that invitation of cleaning it out.
Yeah.
Honing it. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's good. I think we've covered cancer quite well. It's a good time, and we always are on the precipice of moving on to the next. So once we get this figured out of what truly matters to us, and when we really truly work through all our shit and unload that, all of a sudden Leo comes to
town, and then oh goodness,
So thanks for listening, and we're gonna be back with Leo. That'll be the next one.
Yeah. Thank you again for our time, attention, for everyone that has continued to support us through YouTube. If you love this, subscribe, share, send on all of your platforms. And if you're in the Tacoma area and you're ever wanting to join one of our celestial circles, we would love, love, love to have you in live time with Tracy and I. Because it's a fun time.
It's a fun time. Okay, see you next time.
Ciao.